Hello, in this video we're going to discuss black clothing and where it originates from for the witches and Wiccans, why they always wear black. Okay, so the witches and Wiccans always wear black clothing because of Satan, and they also wear a black robe which has a hood. And people often confuse the angel of death as someone who wears a black robe. Okay, so Satan's first experience at witnessing someone wearing black clothing was the intercept in heaven, where Satan had convinced angels to follow him and forced angels to follow him, and they held against their will 547 angels in a tag field. And the only archangel in the area that arrived to rescue the captives wore black overalls with black boots. Okay, so that archangel was wearing black, and he also is the same angel that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. In Sodom and Gomorrah, he wore exactly the same clothing, black overalls, black boots, except he was carrying two swords. Yorki, the Black Knight of Kent, had black armour, and as a result, all the other knights painted their armour black. Their shield was black with a white cross back in the day. Yorki's shield had a small white cross on it. So again, they're wearing black. And you see Satan's influence on Nazi Germany. The Waffen SS wore black uniforms. So the black coloured overalls affected Satan and Baal and Satan's followers, and made them convinced that black clothing was ideal to intimidate people with. Okay, the origins of black clothing in heaven. Originally, it started off an angel who is a scientist in heaven. He wore white overalls and developed the automobile in heaven in the first history, and his family always came and watched him. He'd get covered in oil and grease, and then his family made him get changed. One day he had to get changed into overalls 4 times. He thought this was ridiculous, so he dyed his overalls black, and they've been black ever since. The same scientist also wears black overalls for exactly the same reason. Black robes for exactly the same reason. The black robes also has a belt which has a lead-lined part that goes in front of the genitals. So that's what the scientist wears in heaven sometimes. So there's also a high-vis version of the overalls used in heaven. Other people wear them, the Wraith's special forces in heaven, so they wear black overalls sometimes as well. So what are Satan and his followers' real clothing? Okay, when the intercept occurred at the start of this history, Satan and his followers were all wearing white overalls or white robes, and what they'd done is they had rolled around in feces. So someone had squatted and done feces, done a shit on the ground, and then Satan and his followers have gone and rolled around in it. There are toilets in heaven, and Satan just refused to use them. He blocked his up, and that's why he got kicked out of his batch. He made a mess and refused to let anyone fix it. In the very first history, Satan and his followers wanted to be different from everyone else, and so in the cold, freezing, icy environment, they would again shit on the ground, and then all of them, Satan included, would roll around in it and get covered in it. And they would describe it as being the new way, the pure way, that was for their purity. It sounds bizarre, but that's what they're like. That's what they were like in the first history. So that's the real purpose of what Satan and his followers are like. Their real clothing is in fact covered in filth. Nowadays, you will see witches and Wiccans and Freemasons, often they'll get together and they're all wearing black. And that is because in this history, Satan and Baal and Satan's followers all were killed in Sodom and Gomorrah by an archangel who wore black overalls. So that's where they get the colour black from, and that's why when people draw a picture of the angel of death, it's always someone in black robes. But in actual fact, it was just black overalls. There is no appointment in heaven for an angel of death either. It is strictly a mission like Sodom and Gomorrah, and the destruction of the Mayans is strictly a special forces mission, and that is how it is looked at. Although here on earth we look at it as a biblical event, it is a biblical and a historical event. And what's in the Bible is supposed to be historical. It's supposed to be a historical document. I'm the Archangel Daniel, and I'm from heaven.